Well, hey guys, good to see y'all. I wanted to check in with you tonight about a topic of conversation that's a little bit different than what we've primarily been talking about when I've had opportunities to interact with you guys. So, the primary thing we've been talking about is, this crazy up and down with the market. We had another down day today, so we've been talking about what's going on with the economy, how's this virus affecting our savings accounts, our 401ks, and things of that nature. But we're going to hit the pause button just a little bit on the investment related stuff for tonight, and we're going to talk about a related topic that relates to financial planning and the integrated approach that we take to planning. But it's information that I think that it's always extremely valuable information, but in an environment like we're in right now, it becomes critically important and critically valuable information. So we have a guest with us. It's my good friend, Jeff Koziatek, who I've known for years. Jeff is a speaker and a coach who works with individuals and with business owners, helping them, learn more about themselves, navigate the circumstances that they find themselves in good times and bad times, helps them identify and achieve the goals they have in their personal and professional lives. He's also an author, and he's written this book, Blueprint for Value.
It's great. So I've
Yeah,
heard.
it is a great book, which I've enjoyed immensely. Jeff also has great content on places like LinkedIn, where he shares on a regular basis some of the information from that book, and along with more of the content that he creates and the work that he does. But I'm super excited to get a chance to introduce Jeff to you guys, for those of you who haven't had a chance to meet him before, and to have a brief conversation with him about what we're all experiencing right now, and how to kind of maybe center ourselves and find ourselves in the midst of this very, confusing and disoriented set of experiences that we're all having. So with that, Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. I will say real quickly too, just so you guys have it, Jeff's website is coreauthenticity.com. And we'll talk more about how to find, additional information about Jeff's practice and what he does and how he does it
Thanks.
in the course of the conversation. But so Jeff, you and I have talked about how what we're all living through right now, it's been this drastic, abrupt, forceful change in our circumstances. And it just kind of got dropped in our laps over the weekend, and then Monday morning it's our new reality. So how do we get our bearings in the midst of stuff like this? I mean, how do we get our legs back under so we can figure out who we are and what we're supposed to be doing with ourselves?
Sure. Well, I think it comes down to having a compass, to knowing where you're going. And in this particular case, our compass is who we are as a human being. A lot of times we will look for our identity or our worth in what we do. And once that changes, people can be at a loss. For example, somebody who plays baseball their entire lives, and they turn 43 and they can't play professional baseball anymore, what do they do with themselves? If their compass was baseball, if that was the source of their worth, their identity, they can't pivot into the next phase of their life. So I think here in this particular case, where we're facing crazy amounts of uncertainty, new challenges every day, we find people shifting their roles super fast. One minute you're a manager at work, and then now you have to find a way to manage people and teach your kids at the same time. So now you're a homeschool teacher and a business manager, on top of potentially being a spouse and a parent and all this other stuff. And so it can get really overwhelming really fast unless you know where your value comes from. If you understand that you have value intrinsically, that comes from just being a human being, that's not tied to your successes, your circumstances, or your mistakes, it allows you to continue to move forward and gives you a clear direction to follow. And I think that's more important now than ever, because our roles are shifting, our circumstances are shifting, and so we need that, so we know where to take the next step, and not only the next step, but the right next step.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, and that like immediately strikes me as the truth.
Well,
But
thank you. I'm a coach.
What's that?
I said, thank you. I'm a coach.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, and you know what part of what I also think about whenever I hear you say those things. So I'm responding them to what you have to say on an individual level, on a personal level, but I'm also thinking about some of the folks that I've been having conversations with in the last couple of weeks. So I'm thinking about, the person that would say, that makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, my reality is, my job is gone, and obviously this is a terrible
Yeah.
time to go find a new one. Or maybe my job isn't gone, but I'm learning about what's happening at my company, in the news while I'm sitting at home trying my best to be productive and to contribute. But even whenever things start to go back to normal, what's normal going to look like for me? And also, there are a lot of folks I talk to that are decision makers or owners of businesses, who I know are also thinking, hey, for my entire adult life, I've been responsible for making this thing go. This
Right.
enterprise of mine, and now forces beyond my control have hit the pause button, or maybe shut me down in a way that I don't know if I'll ever be able to recover from. So what would you have to say to folks who are thinking through those sorts
What
of
do
things?
you say to that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would say mindset. It really comes down to mindset. You can't, we, none of us can control all the time what happens to us. Uh, some things we can, but a lot of things we can't. The one thing that we can control 100% of the time is our response. And so to respond to circumstances that are in our control or without or outside of our control, we either adopt a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. I love Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, where she's talking about the two different ones. It is incredibly difficult to have a growth mindset when you find your value in not making mistakes, or when you find your value in achievements. Look at everything that I have created. I am amazing. And then once all that's gone, what do I have?
Yeah,
All of a sudden I don't have anything, and I don't know how to have a growth mindset. It's just gone. So then we slide into this fixed mindset that says it's gone and it will never come back. This is just who I am. Um, for me, as a person who speaks to large groups, I suddenly find myself in a situation where my business is illegal.
yeah,
Like, you can't have large groups meeting. And I have one of two choices here. I could say, with a fixed mindset, my business is over, my family will starve, I'm just going to die. Or we have a growth mindset and say that my value does not come from what I do. What I do comes from who I am. And as such, I can take an honest look at my skills, my talents. I can take an honest look at my resources, the opportunities that are out there that I um, have access to, or I might not have access to yet. I can take an honest look at my network and see who I can talk to, and then equip myself to move forward. I think right now there are a lot of people that are scared. There's a lot of anxiety, and it's because of that abrupt, drastic, forced change.
hmm
And when something like that happens, there is an emotional response, and the emotional response is okay. It's okay to be frustrated or sad, or to feel fear, or to feel anxiety. Like, all of that is totally normal. And instead of responding to that by trying to shove it down or say, oh, we'll get through this, just hold on, or stop feeling that way, because that's not productive. You need to step up and keep moving forward, or to look at somebody that's feeling that and then avoid it in ourselves. I think actually does us a disservice and carries that weight with us into the next step and the next step and the next step. With a growth mindset that says our value is not tied to all of this stuff, we can experience the feeling. We can have a moment of sorrow, of grief, of mourning that loss, and then we can continue to move forward. And I think that's incredibly important right now, that we allow that space, the space to mourn what was, and then to adopt that growth mindset that says, We are more than our circumstances, we're more than our successes, and we're more than our failures. Because as we step forward and we try new things, we're not going to do it perfect out of the gate, but that doesn't mean that this is not the right step to take. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I love all that. That's great. And it resonates with me. And I'll tell you, again, thinking about, my own personal response to some of this. So this kind of stuff is super helpful, and actually just even in this conversation, I feel my own uh, sense of possibility start to rise,
Awesome.
I've got, yeah, like a sense of confidence that, yeah, big things, there are big things out there. It's just a matter of moving into them. But I also know from experience, both in the last couple of weeks and over the course of my whole life, that probably in the very near future, like within a few minutes, maybe even, or definitely by the time I'm laying in bed tonight, some of the fears are going to start to creep back in again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start to have this sense of like, ooh, is it foolish to believe that there are good things in front of me? Is it am I being dumb and short sighted? Am I playing the fool by thinking that that I really do have options? And I know inevitably I'll find myself in that situation where fear starts to kind of creep in and kind of get back into that dominant position in my brain. So one of the things you and I have talked about is how one of the ways, kind of going back to that idea of getting your bearings, one of the ways to successfully do that is to have folks who can be a positive influence to you, who
Yeah.
you're checking in with on a regular basis. And that's an informal network of folks who will be a source of helpful positivity, but also some maybe someone who can serve that role as that kind of professional mentor too. So could you maybe talk a little bit about how important it is to have that kind of a network to lean on to help you not get pulled back down into the mire right now?
Absolutely. I just need to clarify though, are we talking about what's in your head, messages and things that you've seen your entire life, or mine? Because what you just described, hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this right, or hey, I'm feeling really good right now, but in 5 seconds, yep, I'm down again.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people. That's one of the reasons why I wrote that book, Blueprint for Value, because I needed to put 52 habits in my hand, super short, super quick, so I could remind myself of the truth. I could remind myself where my value comes from. I think it's incredibly important that we do that, and you can do that through three concentric circles. Circle number one, the outside circle, would be your professional team, your professional fellowship. That would be a mentor, somebody in your business world, in your industry, that can engage with you. Or maybe not in your industry. Maybe it is a coach. Maybe it's a counselor. But somebody outside of yourself that has been trained in asking questions and listening without judgment, and is not going to give you advice or tell you what to do or fix your problem. Somebody that's going to be able to ask you questions and shine a light on blind spots that you might not see or might not be aware of, so that you can figure out your next steps. Then if you get closer to you drop from the professional mentor to the fellowship that you were talking about, close friends or close family that you can engage in those conversations with, people that can hold you accountable and can walk with you through that. Now, these people are going to be a little more emotionally invested in you than a coach or a mentor, but that's okay. You need both of them, because nobody has ever succeeded in business or in life alone. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs a team, and to have augment friends and family with a professional mentor is incredibly important. And then if you drop all the way down to the center circle, that's where we find the hashtag wash your brain. There's a I don't it's a hashtag wash your brain. You're not washing your brain, Josh.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Right. This is so important, because this is where we remind ourselves where our value comes from. This is where we remind ourselves on a daily basis who we are as a human being, what our values are, what we're here to do. because it's so easy to lose sight of that, especially as the circumstances change. Oh my gosh, my business plans are all up in the air. I don't know what to do next. Wait. Stop, breathe, hashtag, wash your brain, remind yourself who you are, what your values are. That's your compass to figure out where to go next. And if you've got that compass of knowing where your value comes from, coupled with that mindset, coupled with the fellowship that you get from a close group of friends that you can have honest conversation with, and a mentor that can ask questions and call things out, that's how we navigate the uncertainty. That's how we navigate adversity when it comes up.
That's outstanding. Yeah, that's super helpful. And I love it too that the middle of that of your
Oreo,
that core group, in the middle is, yeah, it's you. If your own mind isn't straight, you can pay all the best advisors and coaches and consultants. You can have a great circle of friends, but if you don't take that time to get your own mind right, it's all going to be like a rock skipping off the surface of the pond,
But it makes so much sense, Josh, because we live in a culture that often defines people and their value by what they do, or how much money they have, or where they live, or what they own, or who they know. And we're that message is constantly beat into us over and over and over again. Unfortunately, we're our value is so much more than what we do. Our value is so much more than our perfection, which is why you have to remind yourself on a daily basis. It's not once a week and done. It's not a stamp and you're good for the rest of your life. It takes constant repetition. We have to be intentional about that if we want to continue to grow and if we want to continue to thrive in the face of adversity. And that's why mentors and friends are extremely important, because they can help us when we're struggling to wash our own brains.
Yeah, super fascinating. And it is really, it's counterintuitive, but super interesting to me that so you strip away some of the requirements that we all had normally had in our daily lives. And our lives are a little closer to home, a little less scheduled. And
Right.
lo and behold, it's harder, not easier to stay on target with some.
And why do you think that is?
Yeah, because the compass was off from the beginning. Yeah.
Very, very possibly.
Yeah. So that's, and I think that'll be a good spot for us to kind of end it for now, because we don't want to take too much time, but it underscores what's so valuable about having this time that we're living through right now. Obviously, it's disruptive to your 401k balances, to the GDP of the United States, to our paychecks, but it's also an opportunity that circumstances kind of foisted upon us to say, you know what, there's a chance to learn here. There's a chance for me to exercise that growth mindset and to take advantage of these circumstances to get some of this stuff figured out. And if I do, number one, I'll have the opportunity to access the opportunity, the opportunities in my life coming out of this in a bigger way. But number two, I think it's very reasonable to hope and even expect that you'll have some of the fruit that will be born from these kinds of exercises will be more satisfaction, more peace, and a general sense of who you are that resonates at a deeper level and gives you a higher degree of satisfaction. So anyway, Jeff, thanks again. So if folks want to get more information about you and about the content that you create, about your book, about where you're speaking and things like that, how do they do that?
Sure. They can visit my website, coreauthenticity.com. If they'd like to buy my book, they can find that at blueprintforvalue.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Jeff Koziatek. Good luck spelling that. And I'm also on Facebook.
And so give us the spelling of your last name real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's Koziatek.
Perfect. All right. Also known as Juggling Jeff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff,
Well,
yeah.
And that's probably a conversation for another day. But I mean, if you're talking about pivoting and changing from one thing to the next, and where you find your identity, I've done that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, as I pivot away from speaking in front of large groups to how do I continue to take care of my family? How do I continue to follow my own vision and mission and stand on my values? Um, Talking with my fellowship, that's when we created this eight video series on reinventing yourself. And this is something that is in alignment with who I am. I found with my compass, with the help of my fellowship, and then I'm employing a growth mindset to step out and do something that was previously nowhere on my radar. So I share that here at the end because
Yeah.
I'm not just making this stuff up. I'm
Yeah.
legitimately walking it out.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, hey man, good luck with all of that.
Thank you.
Those new endeavors. And thank you so much for your insight and your wisdom. Guys, thank you for taking the time to check in with us. Hopefully this is helpful. And if you have any questions, as always, please reach out and we'll be in touch. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thanks so much, Josh.
Thank you.
Bye.